forward. One of these people who came forward saying the police had ignored them was the woman, you know, who had lived with Warren Welch all those years before. Remember, they had briefly followed up with her, and she directed them to him? She had come forward later saying, oh, hey, I have more information, and the police were like, talk to the hand. She had a secret she'd been keeping for years, a secret she was afraid for her own life, you know, that if it ever got out. She was sure that her former partner, Warren Welch, was involved in the kidnapping of the two girls. So at the time they were together, while Warren Welch was in prison on a different charge, the charge being beating her up, this woman had found in his belongings a leather briefcase. Inside that briefcase was Polaroid pictures. A lot of Polaroid pictures. Those pictures showed two teenage girls bound with duct taped, gagged, and bound, some of them on a bed this woman recognized as her own bed that she shared with Warren Welch. Others, these girls who she recognized as Laura and Ashley, they were duct taped up on the bed with Welch lying beside the girls, and others, they were duct taped to a chair. Like, sick shit. Turns out that those rumors of VHS tapes, you know, back in the day, back at that New Year's Eve party, maybe they weren't rumors after all. So when Welch got out of prison for beating her up, he went looking for that leather briefcase with all the Polaroids. She had hidden it. He threatened to murder her. He threatened to kill her and throw her body down a pit like he did with those two girls. That was what he said. And he got the briefcase off her. Those Polaroids, like to date, they've never been found. And Welch, fucker died in 2007. But over a dozen people said they had seen those Polaroids and they knew about them. And that Welch and two other men, David Pennington and Ronnie Dean Busick, bragged about the Polaroids and killing the girls. Apparently, the night of December 30th, the three men had showed up. They rocked up to the Freeman trailer to settle a drug deal gone wrong, money was owed, some kind of shit like that. They killed Kathy, they killed Danny, and then they, quote, took the girls to have some fun with them. The two girls, they were held in Welch's trailer for days.
Get your game faces on.
Subject to horrific abuse by the three men. I don't think I need to go into details here. Before they were strangled to death. They were strangled after they tried to run away, and then their bodies were thrown down a mine shaft in Picture, Oklahoma. Warren Welch, you know, apparently he was a real sick piece of shit, and he decorated the walls of his trailer with posters of
Russian occupation. Expect
Now, Warren Welch, an insane meth cook, died in 2007, and David Pennington, described as a kingpin, died in 2015. But they would show the Polaroids to anyone and everyone. Allegedly, they were very proud of them. Yet no one ever said anything, even though maybe there even was said it was suggesting, but nobody was so scared of these guys. That's true, unfortunately. I mean, you could the mystery box, along with a sworn affidavit by the woman, turned out to be exactly what the investigation needed. And a year later, they finally elected to charge that person was Ronnie Dean Busick. One of the men has been bragging along with Welch and Pennington, the only one still alive. Ronnie, like Warren and Dave, another drug dealer, a low life, nothing good about it. It's a horrific crime. You kind of would think there's a mustache twirling mad and jumping up the tree. Something shit next to go like skull. It's horrific thing. At long last, like 20, Busick pleaded guilty and was convicted of being accessory to the murders of Danny and Kathy Britton, the arson of the home, and the abduction and murders of Laura Byron and Ashley. With Pennington and Welch already dead, Busick was the only one left to face justice, and unfortunately, the extent of his involvement, so he was sentenced to just 15 years and released after 10.
Ronnie Busick sentenced to 10 years to serve in prison, followed by 5 years probation. Now, the hearing took less than 10 minutes before Ronnie Busick learned his fate, and most of that time was the victim impact statement from Lorraine Bible, the mother of Laura Bible. Now, she started out by saying this journey has taken 20 years, 8 months, and 1 day, and spoke about the choices Busick made that took her daughter away from her. Afterwards, she said the fight for justice is hard.
yesterday was
Second fast drive just after the enemy.
of a man that has pardoned the parents of the girls. You know, this isn't a fight. You know, a fight continues to find the girls.
Ja, dat is dan.
If only someone would come forward with this substance. There's one more now. When she was saying, I have a secret I need to tell you. Maybe they could have they've done it before he died just 2 years before. And that brings us to today. 2 suspects dead, 1 in prison, and 2 girls still missing. Extensive searches of the mine shaft they were supposedly dumped in turned up nada. David's claim he had a root cellar that he forbade anyone from going into this home that was searched. Nothing found. Many searches have been done, but nothing found. No sign of the girls. Who knows what happened to them? Maybe he remained good. Right? Maybe he doesn't know where they are. Maybe David and Warren. Without a professional there are hundreds of mine shafts in the surrounding area of Oklahoma, but not even the whatever happens to Action Creek and the revival will probably remain. Check. At the end of this tragic, wild, sad case, we will learn and families will learn answers soon. Hopefully that day is coming. Now, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you here watching this old video with me. Please go on. You can check out Twitter, Instagram, Twitter, all things.
And box that.
Yeah, that's the end of the video, so we'll see you next week. Until then, so, hey you, and well, my name's Mike, and in this old video, what we are doing is we are going down on the mine. Sydney. Now, the 20 Australians made it this far into the video. Congratulations! Oh, we're doing it again. In this old video, folks, I have a pretty tragic one. Who could have guessed the crime guy in a tragic story for you? This is the story of what as if he was all the everything. But she would not make it, like we see in a number of also you've got the whole, someone tried to warn the authorities today to take very seriously. It's all awful.
But that part of that,
So, it's all awful. Let's get the game.
Sigur că mai am 5, nu am văzut. Spun.
Not far from the University of Melbourne and the RMIT,
Deleted.
that is the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology to you and me. Look at you, lies the inner city suburb of Brunswick, known primarily for a thriving live music scene and community. Basically everything you'd expect from an area, in close proximity to 2 major universities. The hipster highway, they call it. Do that, I have no idea if they actually do, but maybe they should. I'll leave it up to you. Now, while Brunswick is not a war zone by any stretch of the imagination, it has also had its kind of violent incidents, like the gangland killing of a guy named Lewis Bourne in 2004. Bourne himself had previously been linked to several gang-related murders around the Brunswick area. So not great. I mean, unless you're connected to the Melbourne gangland scene. Although then also not great. So it's like a melange of not great, but also great. The first is considered a drink and dance the night away. Boogie, question mark, you wanna? Why not? But in 2012, that image was shattered by a random act of violence. That, if the Australian justice system had simply worked the way it's supposed to, would never have happened. That had knocked the Golden Gate plan out of you pretty quick. Jill Marr was born in 1982, and she had moved to Australia 3 years earlier in 2009. For what else but love. Jill had actually lived in Australia previously, and had spent the majority of her early childhood in Perth with her parents, George and Edith. Then moved there for the job. In 1996, the family moved back to Jill's birthplace, that's Drogheda, County Louth, in Ireland. And there she started the local school before eventually moving on to St. Oliver's Community College. Jill finished her education in Ireland, earning a degree from UCD, University College Dublin, which is where she met the love of her life, Tom Marr. After university, Jill would in fact go on to work for RTE, which is the public broadcaster. Essentially, it's kind of like Ireland's version of the BBC. Jill got married in 2008 and moved to Australia in 2009. When Ireland, much like the rest of the world, was in the depths of, the recession and that whole rigmarole. A lot of Irish people actually moved to Australia around that time. Obviously, I guess there was no jobs. Did I? Have you seen their spiders? Did I? What? So fast forward to a warm evening that was on the 21st of September 2012. And now the 29-year-old Jill Marr was a producer and occasional on-air personality with ABC Radio 9. That evening, she called her husband Tom to let him know she and a few friends were planning on a cocktail or two, and then asked him to fancy joining them for a few subs. He himself was brand new. You go out and have a good time with your friends. And so, they had drinks at the Brunswick Green on Sydney Road before rounding off their evening at Bar A. A bar literally 10 minutes walk from Jill's Lux Way apartment, where Tom was waiting. As they called it a night around 1:20 a.m., a friend offered to drop Jill off in a taxi. But being just minutes away from home, she turned down the offer in favor of a walk home. A walk she'd taken at Tom Marr was on the sofa in the early hours of the 22nd of September with absolutely no sign of the house at all. A couple of unanswered phone calls later, and knowing that Jill wasn't going to just stay out all night, not to hear, a PP from her, he walked out. Like, this is in a very wee hour of the morning. Well, maybe something, maybe she tripped to hell, slipped, or something. Anything, not to think the worst case scenario. I'm sure she's fine. Around the corner. Tom circling around and around the neighborhood. He knew where she was last. It was only literally a couple minutes walk, circling the block. But I'm getting more frantic as they Finally, the grandfather realizes something could be very, very wrong. Around 6 a.m. Still trying to hide his panic as much as possible, Tom called the police and he reported his wife. The police were pretty quick to respond. Well done, lads, and set up line searches of the area between where Jill was last seen and their home a few minutes from the last car she was seen at.
We've been contacting friends and people who might have been there, people who might have known where she's been, but we haven't really got anything. We keep pushing social media to but nothing's actually come to light yet, so we're obviously really worried.
Make sure we don't lose our advantage.
Look, anyone who has any information at all, or knows anything about that night, just contact us or the police.
Meanwhile, Tom called around Jill's friends, including the other people just that night, but no dice. No one could see information from Jill and that far out of it and started, just walking home. The police searches turned up nothing. At a dead end and seriously concerned for Jill's safety, investigators contacted Jill's bank and mobile phone company, hoping there had been some activity and if she chose to go away, she just nothing had happened, but it happened by choice. Things happened, and as shitty as that would be for Tom, it was a better alternative than what the police were already beginning to think happened that night. Bank inquiries, they would turn up nothing. There had been no movement, money withdrawn, ATM usage, any of that sort of deal. But her phone had the direction of her apartment moved ways away.
Police are looking into bank records today to see if there's any activity and anything. So hopefully we'll get a location of that if the bank card has been used, because that was the only thing that was with it.
Hostile, just took check the record.
Yeah, just trying to push on as possible.
Sandstorm is cutting off our visuals. Be careful while moving it to engage.
Hope somebody sees something. She just walks through the door.
Early on, the investigation focused, as it always does, on, the closest family, and Jill and his family lived back in Ireland. It's always, come on, I've seen this movie.
Danger on my marker!
In fact, the early social media was actually, Tom, he clearly was
Delta
some
One
his
control
wife, and now
lost.
he was, appealing for information. They were probably kind of like, they were licking their chops at the idea of homeless. Because we've seen this kind of story in Australia, even before, I don't know if you remember a case of a couple of years ago, Alison made play, because when Jerry did the whole thing, he killed her and then did the whole, Jill and this whole experience as a couple. But it was no, thanks. But people didn't want to think. They never wanted. Nobody in the right mind wants to think that a woman just walking home alone could be the victim of an attack by a complete stranger. No, she must have known the person who's there. This person, I'm safe. I don't know anybody like that. I'm not in danger. But if it was a stranger and it happened to her, it could happen to anyone. And throwing fuel on the already raging social media fire, routine police searches of Jill and Tom's apartment were caught on camera, and the online witch hunt threatened to spin out of control. He was convicted by keyboard warriors when the investigation was still beginning. Those party would have released his social security number already.
Irish woman Jill Maher was last seen in the early hours of Saturday morning. Police hold serious concerns for her welfare.
It's been more than 40 hours now and Thomas Maher still hasn't seen or heard from his wife.
She's my best friend. She's this isn't something she doesn't do.
We control fewer sectors than them. This is not acceptable.
29-year-old Jill, an Irish national employed at the ABC, was out drinking with friends on a typical Friday night at her local bar Etiquette. It was around 2 a.m. when she decided to leave and make the 5-minute walk.
She was with the same friends there, and then
Sector Gulf is now under enemy control.
got in a cab, and she was going to go walk home, and she hasn't seen since.
Drivers say you will not take a shortcut through this laneway off Sydney Road near Safeway. Police are now reviewing CCTV cameras.
Just lost control of Delta One.
Just don't know where she is.
Tom, however, to the dismay of many, he'd be ruled out fairly quickly. Jill's home had been at Oak Road, near the couple's apartment on Lux Street, before moving north along the Tullamarine Freeway at around 4:30 a.m. Where the signal put out near Gisborne, a small town 33.5 miles northwest of Melbourne. That just happened to be right when Tom had been out searching for Jill, clearly on CCTV. By Monday morning, Jill had been missing for more than 48 hours, and apart from the general direction of where her mobile phone had gone, investigators had very little to go on. That is until they got an unexpected
There's been a new development in the search for missing Melbourne woman Jill Maher.
Someone putting through an alleyway to Oak Road had found a woman's handbag with an ABC worker's ID card inside. Police responded and took Tom to check it out and see if he could identify any of the items. He confirmed it belonged to Jill. A crime scene specialist brought in to help out with the scene analysis, found several unsmoked cigarettes and a pencil with an ABC logo laying on the ground, not far from where the transaction had been placed. Nearby, this specialist pointed to a flattened, darkened section of grass. He said it looked like him what he'd seen many times before. The scene of a sexual assault. Perhaps even more worrying though was the handbag here itself, because the search light immediately began. Police had searched that alleyway, and they were full sure they were dead sure it had not been there, when they had looked previously. So here's leave it back. Was be like a DK killer, doing some kind of weird, sick shit. It was actually a lot more stupid than that. It turned out that a local shopkeeper on the Saturday morning, when they were opening up their business, had found Jill's handbag lying outside front, and opened the shop, and the handbag took it in, didn't tell anyone. It wasn't until the following Monday morning that this shopkeeper was on the phone to their daughter, who mentioned to them about Jill Marks in that exact area, and so, well, the shopkeeper got spooked. And so they just got the flag out, went back to the alley where they found it, and were like, bad idea, silly, stupid, even moronic. Even with the handbag discovery, the investigators, though, were still unsure of where Jill was. She was alive. Suspicions of foul play were further aroused when on Tuesday morning, an employee of the a bridal shop on City Road, not far from the bar where Jill was last seen, handed over to a CCTV recording from the Saturday night. CCTV captured a man in a blue hoodie and jeans pacing back and forth on Sydney Road. Minutes later, Jill, on her walk home, passed the shop and appeared to talk to the man in the hoodie.
Return to the engagement immediately.
Detectives quickly made him the main suspect and target of the investigation, instead of trying to identify the mystery man, at the same time debating whether or not to release the images to the public. They knew the likelihood of Jill being alive. They also knew that if she was alive and being held somewhere, releasing the image could push them to harm her in order to cover their tracks. In the end, the decision was made to release the CCTV along with an appeal to the public for any information that could help them find the man as the complete name. I would have gone for the blue bastard to each their own. It would be another video, though, in fact, that would provide clues as to Jill's whereabouts. See, when following the route Jill's phone had taken before the signal died, police found a worrying crossover. At the same time as cell phone data placed Jill's phone on the Tollway Freeway, a CityLink camera logged a car belonging to a man named Adrian Bailey traveling in the same direction. 41-year-old Adrian Bailey was already known to the police because he was a straight piece of shit.
Sector Alpha.
Bailey's long when, in 1991, he raped a 16-year-old friend of his sister. The next year, he attempted to assault a 17-year-old girl as she was walking home from a bus stop, getting arrested just over a week later when she managed to identify him to the police. Released on bail, he did yet another sexual assault, this time on a 16-year-old hitchhiker. He was determined. Now again, his victim managed to identify him and he was re-arrested, and eventually he'd be jailed for 5 years with a minimum of 3 to be served. What a sentence. I'm sure he'll be rehabilitated after that. Oh wait, it gets even better when he would be released early after serving just a whopping 22 months. If that boggles your mind, then click Strap Yourselves in. Over the span of less than a year, from 2000, Bailey committed a series of assaults in the St. Kilda area. Each woman was driven to a secluded lane and attacked in his car. In April 2001, he was arrested and charged with 5 counts of rape. After pleading guilty, he was sentenced to 11 years in prison with a minimum non-parole period of 8 years. Bailey was eventually released after completing, a sex offender program. And then while out on parole, he just randomly bet the shit, provoked. Okay, so he had to back in, pal, he plead guilty to that, and he's sentenced to a whopping 3 months. To which, test that he can plead against as the beach. This Max is getting better. Now investigators had this back his phone, tracking the same route as the missing Jill. Detectives immediately put Bailey under surveillance and started to do their research on him. But one swift look at his background, and they knew they needed to get him into custody as fast as possible. He had to be their man, the blue hoodie. Bailey was arrested by officers on the 27th of September, 5 days after Jill last been seen.
The latest reporting the disappearance of ABC star Jill Marr from Melbourne suburb of Brunswick. Late today, nearly 6 days after she vanished, night after friends, police arrested a man.
When asked if he had anything to do with the missing Bailey, played the helpful innocent. Insisted he had nothing to do with it, and he spent the night looking for his girlfriend after they had an argument. He said he spent the night looking for his girlfriend after they had an argument, and this is his literal quote.
Reloading weapon.
He was looking for his girlfriend because women shouldn't walk on their own. Unknown to Bailey, police were actually carrying out a search of his home during the preliminary stages of the interview. It was Jill's part. When confronted with the physical evidence, Bailey's story changed, and he finally admitted that he was the guy.
Establishing minigun placement.
He just innocently approached Jill as she was walking and started yapping away to her. Casual, friendly conversation by a complete stranger at about like. Then he tried to give her a little smooch, and she became aggressive. This caused him to see red, and before he knew it, he went down the tango. He instantly regretted it. He never, intentionally wanted to hurt anybody. It was a horrible mistake. Yada yada. You can read the rage-inducing transcripts of when he's telling this to the police. Take your heart medication before it because you will be pissed. It has quotes such as, get my laptop. She flipped me off, and that made me angry because I was actually trying to do a nice thing. She looked distraught. She looked like she didn't. And I don't know, man. Always try to do the right thing, most of the time, and I didn't take well to her response. Yet, this is literally the transcript. He says, a lot. Probably not, but he says it. Trust me. I want to do the right thing. I don't care. I'm going to jail for a long time. I hope they bring back the death penalty before I get sentenced. There is no explanation, and there is no excuse for this. All right. For her family this week, it must have been hell. You know what I mean? I need to be there.
Reload! 1 second!
They had a hunch. Maybe it's like a
We now control more sectors than them. Keep it up.
Maybe there's a little more to a story than he was letting on. And that maybe it didn't happen the way he was telling. But more importantly, they have a profession to work on, and most of all, they need to improve. After a little persuading, Bailey revealed, though he couldn't tell them exactly where Jill's body was, he told them he was sure they took him to the general area in the open upstairs. So late that night, the detective drove Bailey out of business, the same L that found where Jill's home was last night for travel. After driving around for hours, and just as detectives were beginning to lose hope, as they turned on Blackwell Lane, Bailey suddenly raised his head and told the driver to pull over. When asked to show them exactly where they looked, they refused and would only point to the place he burned 4 hours after his body in less than 40 centimeters of soil.
Adrian Bailey from Cody. Do we know how this arrest came about, Gloria? Was it as a result of the release of the CCTV footage? Well, police are saying that the CCTV footage was a vital piece of evidence that actually helped move forward the case. And they've also said that the huge social media campaign, which was launched after the disappearance of Jill Mark, was also of extreme help to them in trying to work out what happened to Sue.
The news of Jill's body being found and the arrest of Adam Constable drew a very strong reaction from both public and media, both positive and negative, brief and active. Things got so tense that police had to publicly request that people refrain from commenting on the case on social media so as to not jeopardize any potential trial. I wonder how that went going on comment on social media. It's really hard to think which quite strong reaction by the public was restricted the city. On the 30th of September 2012, 3 days after Jill's body was found, over 30,000 people attended a march in Jill's memory as part of the Take Back the Night movement.
Strictly friends and family inside the service. Jill's parents united in grief with her husband.
She was so
tears of grief into tears of laughter, even standing up and dancing. Jill was learning to be a clown. Her ambition to write her own comedy series. Friends said she was clumsy and goofy, but always had style.
She's the only person I've ever encountered in the industry with and she was proud of it.
Jill's mother needed to go to the hospital after a minute. She thanked the people of Melbourne for the support they gave her family during the investigation and throughout the aftermath of Jill's death. It initially looked like Bailey was going to cry. Their parents and her husband through just the good old hell that these pieces of shit usually do by saying that leaves the shit not to before it's required.
Accused of the rape and murder of Jill years before the Melbourne Magistrates Court. Adrian Bailey was charged before a packed courtroom over the death of the 29-year-old ABC employee.
He backtracked so pretty quickly when being reminded, oh yeah, he already told me. No. Things went from bad to worse for Bailey when a suppression order was lifted, allowing the introduction of his prior violent history in any trial for Jill's murder. He basically had no chance whatsoever of getting off, so yippee, but any idea of any kind of remorse by pleading guilty also out the window. The positive spirit that had built up in the wake of the march in Jill's honour quickly evaporated back into public outrage, when not only was the extent of Bailey's disturbing frustrations revealed in court, a lot of fury was redirected towards the Australian legal system. You see, when I said Bailey was released from his 11-year sentence for the 5 fateful attacks, yet he was still on parole for that when he was released and committed the random assault that would get him into the custodial sentence. What he said was too harsh on him, that would have moved him. So, not only had he done horrible crimes, been out on parole, then he didn't even go back. He was out on bail, didn't appeal, got the assault when he got 3 months and said it was so harsh. That's what he killed. So he was on parole, was parole, and he was still out about
This belief is now being done crashing out the adult parole board's failure to reply to an email seeking answers over Bailey's release. Mr. Maher wrote, I can see the figure you put into capriciously pouring rapists into the room onto our streets does not extend to responding to victims of your incompetence. He continued, whether this is the slow-moving cogs of government bureaucracy, laziness, or good old-fashioned. This is of little importance to me.
The situation would go from a series of unfortunate decisions to out and out, just stupid. I guess. When it came out that shortly before he murdered Jill, Adrian Bailey had committed even more attacks in and around the same area. And to that, at the age of 4, Jill was here. In June, less than a year after his murder, Bailey would be sentenced to serve at least 35 years in prison. The Supreme Court Justice remarked during the sentencing hearing that had it not been for the last issue of the plea, it would have been life without parole. Great, so you're giving one, like he's only pleading guilty to get less years, so she's sent away for life without parole. Ridiculous.
Part of the reason why the judge said he gave the sentence that he did was because he said that Bailey expressed some degree of remorse. What did you think about that? I mean, did you think he was remorseful, and did you think that
Good work, no Pats. That was a hell of a fight.
No, I think he was. I don't think he was. I don't see how he was remorseful. I don't see a man who continually does the same thing over and over again can be considered remorseful. No, I don't think it matters at all. It would matter in maybe some cases, but not in the case of a serial offender, not in the case of somebody who keeps doing it over and over again. If he has a little cry, I mean, I don't know what difference that makes to sentencing at all. It's baffling. It's bewildering to sit there and listen to somebody sort of coddle this man with ideas of remorse, and who cares if he has remorse?
Who gives a fuck?
Bailey's own mother, his own mother, after Jill's murder, would call into a radio show saying how she had tried. She had tried to contact his parole officer, telling him, he really shouldn't be out and about. Like, he's not a good soul. Maybe kind of throw away love. Like, when his own mother was the one saying he should not be in public. Like, he's a predator. Take the hint.
The system failed. He shouldn't have been on the streets.
And let me tell you, Neil, I went high and I told them that I had concerns. And nobody listened to me. Nobody. His parole officer didn't listen to me. I went into the city to an office at the justice system, in the justice system. Nobody listened to me.
This is before is this before he killed Jill?
The 35-year minimum non-parole period would be extended to 43 when Bailey stood trial for assaulting 2 sex workers and a Dutch backpacker in the months leading up to Jill's murder. What's really upsetting is that the facial description the Dutch backpacker managed to give police after the attack looks like it was fake. Like, even if anybody's facial reconstruction pretty good odds, this person went out to make a face, it was like fantastic. Straight. The girl told police that Bailey pulled up in his car and warned her securing objective Charlie 1. After offering her a ride, she took her away to a sensitive area and he attacked. She only managed to get away. She managed to convince him that they should go back to her place, and then she ran inside her house. Another
Charlie objectives under control. Sector secure.
Sex worker. She had literally been reading a novel about, a dangerous predator, a man in the area, like a soft under our control. She had literally been reading it. Look, she got in. And then she was like, wow, there's some psychopath out there. And then it was just her and looked at her and said, yeah, you're looking. There's so many things like leading to what if it had just been done like slightly differently by people with like a modern level of competence.
Sector Bravo secure.
Spared, really. Forced the way people expected them to be, things would have been different. Start breaking the things that have been, but been it was. Man, this was shame. Jill, your
resources available for support drop.
Dragla un metro dove se la piazza in faccia a mia
Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. I'm be here watching this video with the show. So I'll see you like real soon in the next one. Look forward to that. Also, some more stuff coming. I'll tell you about it. More like very near future. I'll tell you about it very, very soon.
Bye.
One of our objectives has been attacked.
Just take care of each other, take care of yourselves.
One shot. Done it, done it.
Hey you, and well, my name is Mike, and in this old video, we have a...
Done it.
That's one Florida, because, why not at this point, so sell it. The British story is a year in its 2004. The place is around Miami, and the who, not the band, be the family. That's John and their 2 adopted children. And for them, life was good. They had success, they had love, they were living in Florida. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, right? And you know what?
Enemy forces attacking Charlie 1.
Each day is better than the next. It certainly is in this one, because it is a story of bridges long held, so maybe we will see.
Strength down by a quarter.
Let's give it a go. Just inside of beautiful Miami, by the city of Coral Gables, is the Miami-Dade miles south of downtown Chesterfield. It's home to approximately 50,000 people, I'm told. Like, they've not counted.
The hostiles have already spent half their resources.
Coral Gables,
Keep
on
going.
the University of Miami. Jumpy, you one hell of a curve that we will, situations to dive into, but also you'll find a lot. I mean, LOTS, my friends. Yeah, you were right. Dollar bills, folks, and this. You were so fun.
retreating. You've earned your rep today, no-pats.
On the 22nd of August 2004, John and his wife Susan were celebrating in their home in Coral Gables, a beautiful home with a boat out back even. Whoa, they got a freaking boat! And Susan, it was her birthday. She had just turned 57 years of age. Spirits were high, and an added bonus was that the Sutton Law Group had just won 3 big cases. Susan herself, she worked as an office manager for the firm. Good times all around. John and Susan had been married since the 70s after meeting during a blind date, getting hitched just 1 year later. Susan was head nurse of a surgical intensive care unit before giving up her career when her and John adopted their first child, Christopher. They were over the moon about it. You know, John and Susan, they desperately wanted to have children, but for one reason or another, they simply couldn't. So when they finally, you know, were able to adopt Christopher at 2 days old, pure joy. And then 7 years later, they adopted another child, Melissa, and they were a very happy family. They were having an intimate little party at the house to celebrate Susan's birthday and also the success of the law firm. There was John, Susan, Christopher, Chris's girlfriend Juliet, and John's law partner and close family friend, Teddy Montoto.
Quite a squad.
John and Susan's daughter, Melissa, was away in college upstate at the time, ready to start the semester, so she couldn't make it. Though she did call to wish her mother a happy, you know, big ld happy
We have a chance to seize Iwo Jima back from GPC forces occupying the area.
Chris and Juliet, they went
Survivors from the Japanese military have cut us an entryway past the coalition's initial defenses.
Home, we went to separate ways.
Take
John
advantage
sat down on the couch,
reclaim that territory.
started watching some
It's
television.
on you,
While
no-pats.
Susan, she was in the bedroom on the phone, you know, various people calling to wish her a happy birthday. A quiet end to a nice night. So quiet wouldn't last.
Every sector we advance, the Russians will fall after. Take your objectives and keep the enemy running.
Barely. They almost didn't go up in. They could see a lump. Susan was there. She had to walk around like she was trying to hide. She was shot 6.
Friendly targeting Alpha 1.
She'd been on the phone with somebody about her birthday. The first thought was like a, you know, just kind of right now, a lot of these cases. John had a gun, he shot his wife, and then he tried to kill himself. But John even shot twice in the head, shot a number of times in the back, and watch out here! So, got him doing it quickly. You know, someone had come in and broke the plastic bag in the rear. So what was interesting is that the owner of the stole. It was ransacked. There was like diamond, jewelry laying out there, beautiful
fare intelligente.
Lawyers, they can sue me, and there's usually a loser at the end of the case. They end up going to a lot of money.
Non ha fatto un nel genere.
Just enemies detected in the sector.
Wow. Identificate.
I see a hostile fire team! 200 meters!
So they can
però che
somebody at the other end of the line and heard shots. Brilliant. It turned out that she was on the phone with Eddie Monroe, a family friend. Even after the shooting, Eddie
You're attacking Bravo 1.
Oh my god, what about that? Kill.
His own gun.
Just bring me alone, you fuck.
But one thing they did learn with it, by the by, they had a career with the police don't really just waiting for John to wake up.
Okay. Quite disappointing.
On him, shot twice in the head, couldn't walk at all, you know what I mean? But they were just
Hostile identified!
witness what happened. Sadly, the
Hostile vehicles down!
my doctor got his only was quite gone.
Dude.
That he was flying both his eyes. Bullet entered his right eye, destroyed his right eye, and fused the nerve, the optic nerve of his left. And all John could say was he had seen just all in black with a visor over his
Ow.
John moved into this later, they were all no longer a crime scene. The investigation
Come on, Ghana, you're not your bullets. The US government is paying for them.
eventually, now,
Shoot, goddammit.
they didn't They Chris made about a dozen jolly named Garrett. Now, that's a lot of fun. And it just seems to me, when you're talking about the day we broke the thread, Russian forces are coming in quite a lot. Why? Chris was sitting the Garrett an hour after the shooting. Chris was coming out of the cinema.
Fucking guy again. Forgot about it.
Infantry troop! Long range! Tango on my mark!
One day after the 23rd, he got out to attack Charlie 1. Pulled out. He was charged with aggravated and when he was taken into custody,
No, poi a quello Zaccaron poco cazzo.
investigators in the Silicon Valley and that gun was the very same type. He'll soon as that line after the arrest.
We're hit! Outside!
They learned it was the exact same gun. But, hey, what is the story here? What is Chris? They need Garrett right after. Will Chris have been in trouble?
Fuck off.
Sent off. Think of those things where, you know, these guys come to your house and then they drag your out of their bed and try to process and then
one more. Bro, this fucking guy.
Spotted the enemy helicopter! 250 meters!
also occurred. The U.S. State Department would investigate and basically say, don't send your kids here.
Well, harta asta e din Battlefield. Mai vechi.
It may as well be.
Am așa unde e cu ea.
No fucks about it. Well, I should probably just mention this also. One of the deciding factors for John Ernst
No, what
that,
Hostile vehicle destroyed!
Wow, what the fuck? Much am dat jos în anti-air, pe de altă.
Frontside damage!
Chris was not meant to be. Chris was 19 years old when he came home. And now a blind Johnson was living with his best friend and may have blinded him and killed him. And Chris's good behavior from the gun had passed him. And the guard killed drugs and did all sorts. Garrett was eventually brought in and for the job. So wait, like, one second said he was forward, and then he said he was paid. Which was it? He said Chris had been spoke about what he was wearing, that Chris bought the black out, he told him at the back entrance to the house was the easiest way to get in. Chris had traded to get the gun for him. Garrett was a high school, 20 years old, he had no education, no steady work, a criminal record, and a baby. That's like, you know, starting out on life. He was a deadbeat drug dealer like Chris, and it was a get-rich-quick scheme for him. Garrett didn't give a shit about Chris's parents, he was just in it. Now, there actually was a pretty good joke of Garrett turning on Chris in the interrogation and telling the police everything instead of keeping his mouth shut. See, a few years previous, Chris had given Garrett drugs to sell. guards and Chris would say he never intentionally set him up.
That would
be a grudge he always held against him. Gareth Cox was arrested and
Allied
charged
forces are attacking Delta 2.
murder. On Chris, though, they had nothing. That was they spoke with Juliet. Yeah. Juliet told the police that revenge and greed were on his mind when he said his parents viciously and constantly spoke of how they owed him and how he would get that back. John was then told that he was living with and was taking care of his son, his own son he raised 2 years stable. Chris was arrested and he was charged with first-degree murder. Possibly it would be a death sentence. Garrett would be guilty and agreed to testify against Chris.
An objective is fallen to the bush.
Chris and Chris alone stood trial for the murder of Susan and the attempted murder of John
Shrouded in black, the gunman left his car and headed out into the stable service unit. Starring streets of Barbados, in the shadow of a country club, and found his car. Set out on the beach towards his targets of Soy. Across the waterway, on the Oregon Drive, 2 hours
No.
a 9mm black semi-automatic pistol stuck in his waistband. He was a man on a mission.
I'm okay.
Hostile troops concentrating on Delta 2.
Carbon.
Well, once the defendant was taken into custody, he was brought to the homicide office, and he was given his Miranda rights. He was told that he would remain silent. He was told that anything he said could and would be used against him. He was told that lifetime attorney lesson and that for free of charge. The lead detective, Larry Darby, told the defendant some of the evidence they had against him.
Danger in the area!
That Gareth Cobb had given a statement incriminating him, and that his girlfriend, Julia Driscoll, had also given a statement to the police. The defendant's reply? Put his head on the table and said, Susan Sutton. Did you succeed in killing Susan Sutton?
We have secured an objective.
A weapon? Did you shoot to kill John Sutton? Did you succeed in killing John Sutton?
Danger!
And who was the person who told you were in a plan to shoot John and Susan Sutton?
Hostile helo located!
Did the defendant propose to you that you
Took down a vehicle!
kill John and Susan Sutton as a way to win?
Enemy has secured.
The motive. They had a lot of money and probably convincing people actually out in cars. And then packed off. Revenge was also called revenge for the years when they had stolen money while they were living on a block.
Our attack on Delta 2 is underway.
And you want to get independence, correct? And then you found out that your parents had made sure that you would be forced to stay after 18, correct? Okay.
Incoming fire! Point blank!
And you finished
What time is the marker?
And didn't you tell Miss Driscoll that your parents should not have been in the program as long as you were? Correct? Didn't you tell her that you were correct? And you told her that you didn't deserve what happened to you, correct? And you told her that you were forced to do hard physical labor, correct? And that you were beaten? And that you were having...
Bra.
And that you were getting other people's food, correct?
of Florida versus Christopher
Mamma
Sutton.
ćemo kalman ne
Jury in
tanko.
Miami-Dade, Florida, this 21st day of July, 2010.
One of our objectives is under attack.
Patrick Sutton. As to count 1, guilty of first-degree murder is charged in the indictment. As to count 2, guilty of attempted first-degree murder.
Chris Sutton was found guilty of first-degree murder and 3 life sentences for your
Contact with everyone.
leading to destroyed families in his once family.
The table's right there. Yes. Yes, Mr. Sutton.
May I please the court? Unfortunately, justice
Questions
has
are now
been
occupying
done.
an objective.
Properly, unfortunately, justice has been done. Regardless of the result, this is a bad case. The state didn't talk about the old girl coming off my CLK-AMG Mercedes all by itself with only one load. Being stolen from my office, and the memories from my family. When the
Friendly needs help!
Someone who you know revenge their entire lives and never let it go. I mean, I was wondering I mean, Susan John, whether it was a good thing or not that they sent Chris away, we got captured Chris here. Well, actually, no, fuck that, like, actually, he did kill his mother and then like his father, so no matter how much he got, you might want to buckle up there, you know, steady on. But John, on the other hand, by the way,
Danger here!
blind, whose wife was murdered. Didn't let his blindness stop him later. He loved swimming and skiing, and he still does them today. He later remarried, and he still works at the Sutton law firm in Miami. And I gotta say, this headline, it actually made me laugh. When asked if there was any chance of reconciliation between him, John, and his son Chris, maybe go visiting him while he's in prison, or his life, well, John had some choice words. Basically, ain't happening. No mucking about it. And like in all, like better or worse, the train will stop. Thank you so much. This whole video,
They're making us pay every minute we're in this.
I don't know. But Twitter, that chapter, that underscore chapter, that underscore chapter on Instagram, videos, early access videos, vlogs, like that. Holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all the things, and I will see you all this Christmas. Until then, please consider look after yourselves. Hey you, well, unemployed, and in this old video, I have a story for you. It's a story that's about fathers and sons. It's about family. Well, it's about one family in and it's about how the men in that family all share a particular trait. Love of killing, really, the Weaver family wove a web of lies, of deceit, of just stalking those around them, no matter who they're related to or close with.
Resources available for support drop.
You're going to get scary cat eyes, my friend. In California and Oregon, a grandfather, father, and son commit horrid atrocities. This story begins with one girl going missing. A month later,
Target destroyed!
Has a family background, namely a father, possibly left 6 bodies in his week as he worked as a truck driver.
Russian troops have mounted defense.
Was it you know, being raised by a killer, a possible serial killer, or was it just, in their nature, and they were going to turn out that way no matter what? I'll even debate that, but saying it, it's going to go through it, and that means let's give it a go. There's danger there! So to begin, let's set the scene. That means we are going to Oregon. God, I'm getting a lot of mileage instead of that one. We're going to Oregon City. Oregon City lies just to the south of Portland. It's a small town, less than 20,000 people. It was once known for forestry, and now pretty much just as a suburb of Portland. And it was there that, in the year 2002, Ashley Vaughn and Miranda Gaddis lived and worked. That's Gardner and Ashley, well, stage close friends with Mallory. They were like the 3 best friends that anyone could have. They were all neighbors, they all lived close together, they were on the same dance scheme, and both Ashley and Miranda, they lived in the same apartment complex. That's the Village apartment complex southeast of town. Ashley lived with her single mother and her 3 younger siblings. Her dad, a fellow named David Vaughn, he had divorced Ashley's mother, Lori, a couple of years ago. That divorce was quite contentious, in fact, when in the middle,
Contact spotted!
David revealed he was not, in fact, Ashley Vaughn's biological father. That is that David would have to pay less in child support to Lori Vaughn. So not only did Ashley, it was revealed to Ashley that the man she thought was her dad in his entire time, his entire life, was not actually her dad, but that it was revealed to her in such a way that he would have less to do with her and wouldn't have to pay to help support her. So that's pretty rough when you just enter your teenage years and learn that. And so Ashley learned that her actual biological father was a guy named Wesley Proctor Jr. As she began to get to know him as you, she wanted to know her dad.
Shots fired! Look right!
Unfortunately, though, for Ashley, Wesley turned out to be a registered sex offender and all-round. Not the way to manage from this 12-year-old daughter, Ashley realized that that was not a relationship worth pursuing. Mildly, I guess. But he did get his public because he died of a felony count relating to sexual abuse of a minor. That minor, Ashley Vaughn, he had been abusing her basically since he met her. And he was sentenced to a whopping 13 months probation. Yeah, his also piece of shit lawyer really undermined the ability of the 12-year-old girl. So Ashley, to put it mildly, she had a rough go. The man she thought was her dad turned out to be not be her dad and also wanted nothing to do with her. And then the man who was actually her dad had molested her. So, great stuff. And her mother, Lori, wasn't the same either. She was a bit drunk and also had a domestic dispute with others. A lot of things went wrong for Ashley. Despite having all this shame for honor, she did her utmost to be there for her friends, to participate in after-school activities, to engage with the things that you could imagine would help you turn out and develop into a healthy person. She didn't really have much of a chance, and she still was able to go. And all that takes 9th of January 2000. That morning, Ashley was running late for school. Just after 8 a.m. Now, getting late and being running for a bus is actually pretty normal for Ashley. She loved the L then. It was less than a 10-minute walk from home.
Enemy vehicle destroyed!
She was down the road after 6 p.m. Lori expected
hiking. Io vi un po' piccolo. Come in your room, poi dato davanti alle cose. Perché fa molto. Persone non ce la fate. Ehi, c'è ce ne va, un po' di here. Get away. I don't want to get...
She wasn't at dance, but she's been making some responders. Some kind of character of her. He always calls and informs you of everything.
Not too many vehicles there, no? Yeah, se stau într-un loc, că dacă vine o rachetă până plec de acolo, balena asta creează. 100% o să tragă. Stau gol acolo.
What's an attempted molestation of the grand scheme of things? And remember how Ashley Khan's father Wesley was such a light sentence for 4 years? Well, it turned out that Ford had testified on Wesley's behalf against Ashley Khan, saying, calling her a liar and saying she had also accused him of molesting her. Wow, shit really goes together. And now she disappeared.
Basta loro aici am bătaia de pentru. Nu pot să țin stabil și oamenii. Cred. Schimbam la vădere.
Another day at school not knowing what happened to her best friend, and in fact, that very day, the 8th of March, after school was the dance performance raising money as a reward to show the blind Ashley. Now Miranda, much like Ashley, did not have
not a splash damage, mare, pentru că acolo vezi direct.
Jason Gannis was picked up. Wait, when Michelle learned that her daughter hadn't been in school that day, she reported her missing.
Oh, fucking way.
And the investigation that has been winding down actually sprang up from Miranda. And the other three people signed messages realized that they were clearly related. Two girls of the same age, best friends, living in the same complex, go missing on their way to the bus within 2 months of each other. They even they will. So you can imagine the absence of fear when everyone who lives in that area, you know, in every area. Nightmare. The first time I heard this, twice. The police once again not responding for years. See, two weeks Miranda, she had been asked to leave her home. Mallory leaders during those first days, she started to leave her house. Miranda had seen another girl was at her house. Here, Miranda was saying that she had heard about Ashley using the word unmolested. Heard this, she got married. Miranda, also just like Ashley, had gotten a ride, you know, from saying, hey, did you give Miranda school that day? They don't comes home all morning. Mallory. Danger! School that day, so I was looking after her. Mallory was with their mother. It kind of seemed like all the roads were leading to Beaver. And the victim's family knew about him, knew what kind of man he was. And they also noticed that after Miranda went missing, Ford Beaver, that was the teenage Miranda's neighbor, helped enforce the department there in the background.
Där kan vi ha rocket force vi kan göra. Antipersonal.
FBI dogs also became interested in her home. Ford underground, she failed. But once harassed guys, they're topping my house, trying to pin it all on me. And months went by, but nothing came out on either Ashley or
Right, get the fucking side.
July of 2002, Ford Beaver even interviewed two news station people. Cleared his name. You know, shit was mad to you. Didn't work.
Nie, komplikacje daje trochę. A co my jeszcze? Co my
He openly discusses Ashley's allegations against him.
Ashley had the kind of she gets in trouble. Someone she makes accusations the first time that I actually come down on her about her mouth. She did this kind of accusations that I watched her. I know Ashley ran away. You know, and then the fact that the FBI is throwing both of these cases, you know, into someone who took this
They say attach
I don't see it that way.
Troops are securing Foxtrot 1.
The whole business is really go after, but I know, you know, well, I don't have anything to do with what's going on. But my guess is that Ashley's up somewhere with
upcoming much under the house.
She was a bit of a friggin' psychopath. She really hated men, even though she had some. She wasn't very good.
That force strength is noticeably down.
Dick off all men. Put the dicks down. You know. Okay.
That not that way, girls. One is down.
Now it's a little confusing because you have Ward Weaver Jr. and then his son. So Ward Weaver Jr. So Ward Weaver Jr. I'm going to call him Weaver the opposite by the name. So Pete Weaver is this asshole's dad. Because they're both actually opposites. Pete Weaver was a shitty kid with a shitty child. Torture animal. Abused cats. And he sexually abused his own sister. He didn't know to be any better. Yeah, he would go on to be a long haul driver.
Foxtrot 1, assault initiated by our
Fuck me!
Another job out. Ward the turn worked as a cook aboard an aircraft carrier docked in the and there he met the young woman named Ward received another than honorable discharge for leaving his post whenever he felt like it and bring Korea back to the So another than honorable discharge, by the way, it's not bad. It's honorable discharge, but it's still not. Still like benefit. And the police were called to Ward and Marie's house on more than communication for you guessed it, his work as a Maria wanted Ward's mother. They later moved to Bakersfield, California, Ward Weaver the Turn's father, was turned out to be an absolute psychopath. In 1970, for a year and a half, then he won heat victims who arranged for a friend to boy in the head and then repeatedly raped the girl. He was sentenced to 41 years for that. While serving those 41 years, both another war crimes, yet committed. In 1981, while working as a long-distance truck driver, which is a serial killer specialty, he came across a young 22-year-old Barbara LeBoy, Robert Bradley. He pulled over to help him out, and then he watched him and asked Robert to then struck Robert over the head with a metal pipe, put Robert's body in the Barbara with the body of Robert and Barbara back to his house. Barbara into the
che просто molto giamma, bro.
At which point she fell back and she almost bit off his finger, and then he strangled her to death.
Our forces are targeting Foxtrot 1.
Pete Weaver then tried to make a deal with the volunteers. He said he would leave in 26 other victims if they waived the death penalty. They said no. So Ward Pete Weaver Jr. is a possible serial. I mean, for what he did, it seemed like he was quite used to killing. And then, you know, as a driver, he was always on the move. Big yikes. Guys,
Oh, attacca a me. Ora si sa chi lo legge.
they found he did log. They were there and no one looked to solve the murder was serious. He did and when he did it.
Danger on my marker!
Later, the voices told him he was seen by 18 psychologists and psychiatrists. He diagnoses vary from PTSD to paranoid schizophrenia. When he was in Vietnam, he had seen some horrible shit. You know, his friends get blown up, like that kind of stuff. And then he also said that once he saw his friends, reported romantic sensitive with a Vietnamese girl who was suspicious of her father, and it only ended when this girl's father slit her throat.
Danger on my marker!
Pete Weaver was sentenced to 2 years. So that's who this guy's father was, and now he himself is being, you know, suspected of murdering young girls and a whole host of other horrid shit. So Ward Weaver watched his possible serial killer dad be sentenced to death, and in 1986, maybe Ward wanted to join him. Father's Day 1986, he got real drunk at a bar, and he got a ride home. Ward and Maria, they lived with the
What the fuck?
while they were all the time, they were driving home. Ward asked Jennifer to pull over.
Ancora molto da tanto. Lo saprà molto tenere. Adesso do un cazzo, una lunga cosa, trago così. E te ne mi secco, buono, vale. Vai. No, per il...
Thanks.
In 1994, Ward on a blind date, you know, she was 18 years old. She had a nice visit to no asked for elbow while Ward was 19 years old. Of course, the father of Ward was like
No, non posso andare
his mutual friend.
We are initiating an attack on Foxtrot 1.
Shitty friend said to a good guy like this one, Ward was no better to her than he was to Marie. Peter on time and equally as so, hey, maybe 56, they married. He was a good guy, really underneath it all, you know, she could say. Ward, though, would eventually leave her for another woman in the area.
Bastard.
Mallory would move to Oregon City. The girlfriend would leave, they would stay in Dallas, and Mallory would be tremendous.
By any measure, we're at half strength.
Over the summer of the test, everyone knew that Ward Weaver had something to do with what happened to Ashley and Brenda. They just couldn't find the proof, they just couldn't find the evidence. They knew it was Francis Weaver, Ward's son, and his oldest child, that would give the police their biggest break.
Foxtrot 1 has fallen to our FBI. Foxtrot 1 attack begun by our forces.
Interessant come abbiamo un elicottero. L'elicottero ne ha. kind of magic.
Don't like the looks for that!
Word was arrested, and Francis told the police that a week before police then searched the home. They had Ashley buried her body in the shed in back.
There you go.
We are about to attack Foxtrot 1.
Our attack on Foxtrot 1 is underway.
He would later plead guilty to avoid the death penalty. His institute sentences to life without parole. Warren would say he hated her after she accused him of lying to him. He never said why.
Our troops are securing Foxtrot 1.
Life wasn't always easy. He was murdered in 2007 and
Watch a step here.
made a shooting and tried to stab him to death. No, he didn't. But, good on him. But the war name,
Francis did give us a glimpse of what life is like growing up. Describe
Marking dangerous area.
in 2014, Francis Weaver told the police confessed he was wanted to killing a man over marijuana. Francis Weaver was sentenced to life. And the ultimate Mallory, Ashley, and Miranda's good.
Our forces are targeting
Boga
Foxtrot
faccia
1.
facciamo.
Security guard at a hospital where their mother really
Danger mark!
health issue. And so that ends the saga of the murderous family of right. Right on everyone around them. Everyone. Family of serial killers, question mark. So is there a question of the serial killer gene? You know, is that why they were the way they were, or was it just being raised by
Grazie voi questi.
Though it would later come out that Francis Weaver was in fact not the biological son of he was his stepson. So I guess that kind of get into the whole nurture is in nature. And Francis, when he was arrested, he did seem, regretful of his actions. He was right about what he had done. The only one who seemed that way. I mean, at the same time though, there's also a few killers who have made charges. So who knows? But it seems like they all but I mean, yeah, they had a good job, but they still done what they did. You know what? Great, I'll leave it for you guys to decide. But shit, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate being here at the end of this video with me, watching this whole video. Going over years first. There we go. Thank you. No. So,
Engage in objective Foxtrot 1.
Oh my god, det finns förslag i detta. L'hai citata parte alta operazioni.
Our troops are securing Foxtrot 1.
Marking dangerous area.
Hey you, welcome. My name's Mike, and in this this whole video, we're talking about fathers, you know, like father, like son, but not in a good way. We're heading on down looking at this one and taking a look at the case of Trey Zwicker. What really happened to him? Because bizarrely in this story, you have two people both saying they are responsible for what happened. So you kind of don't know what to believe. And when looking at what surrounded what happened, you really don't know what happened, which is even stranger. This is a couple of back the old wheel around. Right, let's stop kicking the tires.
Foxtrot 1 is now our target.
This is, it's a little confusing. It's quite frustrating, but you know what? We'll get through together. So in this whole piece, you have three families, right? You have Young and Zwicker. So we'll start with those families. And how about in the year of 1996, the place, Louisville, Kentucky. The big boy in this story is Josh Gowder. And in 1996, he had a child named Young. The child would also be named Josh, and he used his mother's name on the Young. So first thing, we have two main characters in this story. His name's Josh. So, again, you know, put a name. Big Josh, Gowder, Little Josh. So when I say Gowder, I mean the dad, and I say Young, I mean you. So around this time of having this story in 1996, Gowder was also having interviews. On again, off again.
Contact marks! West!
Now this Gowder more or less had a small in 2001, he escaped from a Kentucky Department of Corrections site. Don't know what he did to get into it. In 2002, he was captured again for theft, lawful imprisonment, assault of an officer, and just regular old assault too. This would continue for charges like this throughout the 2000s. And so when Angelina Young died, and Josh Young, the son, put into foster care as his dad, Gowder was in the slammer. He got out, regained custody of Young, who was 15 years old at the time. The foster family, Josh Young, while his dad was in prison. He actually seemed to get on really, really well. They did a good job raising him until Gowder, with
All resources are nearly spent. We cannot sustain a prolonged engagement.
Came back into his life. So, Gowder and Young, father and son, moved into Gowder's castle. His cousin, he may probably, it seems like he was right, basically. Yes, cousin. Ruby must be. So, swiftly moving on. Now, around the time that Josh Young was born in 1996, Trey Zwicker was also born in that same year. He was the son of a man Zwicker, Gowder is on and off the lover, and turned to Trey Zwicker. So Trey was also named after his dad. Don't worry, because the parents, the dad, would exit the picture pretty soon if he married somebody else. Amanda Zwicker would then start dating Gowder, who's still living with his on-again, off-again lover from prison. It seems that they all actually knew each other from an early age. Amanda was a few doors down from the house. Amanda and Gowder would marry, and they got along relatively well. Trey Zwicker and Josh Young were both around the same age. Got along relatively well. So even though Gowder and Amanda were married, raising their kids together, and Josh Young was 15, 14. Oh, Gowder was still off. His cousin. Trey, by the way, seemed to have escaped the influence of his stepfather, unlike his stepbrother, Josh Young, who regularly, Gowder would regularly give his own son, they would smoke the reefer, and Gowder would tell his son all about, his various escapades in and out of jail. Trey was close with his dad, who was married to a woman. He was to get a flicker, all Zwicker. Trey enjoyed fishing, dirt bikes, he was on the honor roll, school, and now,
hai già nelle braccia.
2011, a teacher at Whitney High School in Louisville was taking the kids out to a bit of a walk. And while walking along a ditch at the edge of the school property, they saw a body lying there. It was 14-year-old Trace Whicker.
School children found the body of a teenage boy that drinks yesterday afternoon. They drinks about a warning. Homicide detectives hoping to double time.
And today we learned the body found behind Liberty High School is 15-year-old Trace Whicker. He actually attended Central High School and lived nearby Liberty.
Found dead.
Like the outdoors.
Keep it up and we can take the final sector.
According to the medical examiner, he was beaten to death with a rod and left in the ditch to die in the early morning hours of May 11th. No weapon was ever found. And so the investigation began. So the police immediately went to the family of Trey's mother Amanda, his stepfather Josh Gauker, and his stepbrother Josh Young. Amanda said the last time she saw Trey was the night before, on the 10th of May at 1998. She said that after the Gauker went to Lizzie, they knocked boots and then went to the store and bought cigarettes.
Russian forces are leaving the site. We secured it. Well done.
Finally. We can go to sleep.
Surrounding his death are continuing to mount.
His
His body was found Wednesday in a ditch near Liberty High School by some students. The school is in the same neighborhood Bruce Whicker's mother lived. Police suspect
Nici
foul
două de
play,
mii de
but not
amici,
made public any
holy
information
shit.
about a potential motive,
E cel mai
and
mult
did
ce am
not
putea
name
vedea.
anyone a suspect or person of interest.
But still, there remain questions about one of the Joshes being involved with what happened to
Slowly
Trey.
but surely
This
we're
was
getting
then
familiar with the Apache.
exacerbated by the fact that soon after Trey's funeral, Josh Gauker took his son, left town. Gauker skipped a probation appointment. They just disappeared, not looking too good, and Amanda at the same time filed a protective order against Josh. She had just spent the night with Gauker, the night her son was killed, and so if she had her suspicions about him, well, an Amber Alert was issued for Josh Young, as he was 15 years old at the time and seems to, I don't know, he was abducted by his father. Nobody really knew what had happened. And then things become even more complicated.
Anyway,
See, Cassie, the cousin, told the authorities that Josh Young had confessed to her before he skipped town with his dad that he'd killed Trace Whicker. She said that he came over to her house that night